Grandma Mary, the respected chairman of the Johnson family empire, had been away for 3 months. During that time, she had thought deeply about her grandson Tom Johnson, who was set to take over as the head of the family's prestigious law firm. Tom, known for his intelligence and charm, was also famous for staying out of the public eye. Few people had seen his face, which made him a mystery even within the company. At the firm, the staff was buzzing with excitement. Whispers and giggles filled the air as the workers speculated about Tom's arrival. "He's so handsome," I heard said one junior lawyer, her voice barely above a whisper, and Rich added another, her eyes sparkling. "Can you imagine being the one to catch his attention? He's the most eligible bachelor around." Despite the excitement, no one had any idea that Tom would soon be among them in disguise. Meanwhile, Grandma Mary had her own plan. Instead of making a grand entrance as the chairman, she decided to go undercover as an old cleaner. She wanted to see how things worked in the company when no one knew her real identity. She also had a secret mission to find a wife for Tom, someone who would love him for who he truly was, not his status or wealth, dressed in plain clothes and wearing an old watch that looked like a cheap knockoff. Grandma Mary entered the law firm. Most people ignored her, but a group of female employees quickly took notice. "Who let her in?" one of them sneered, glaring at Grandma Mary. "She's wearing that fake watch, trying to look rich," another added, rolling her eyes. They laughed and pointed at her, making rude comments loud enough for others to hear. Grandma Mary stayed quiet at first, observing them with sharp eyes. But when one of the women stepped closer and accused her of wanting to belong to the upper class, the situation escalated. "It's just an old watch, Grandma," Mary said calmly. "Why does it matter to you?" Her response didn't sit well with them. One of the women shoved her slightly, and Grandma Mary stumbled backward, nearly losing her balance. Before things could get worse, a voice cut through the commotion. "Enough." Amelia, a young, beautiful lawyer with sharp features, stepped forward. Her presence immediately silenced the room. "What are you doing?" Amelia asked the group firmly, crossing her arms. "She's just doing her job. Don't you have better things to do than bully someone?" The group of women exchanged awkward glances but didn't back down entirely. One of them sneered at Amelia, her tone dripping with mockery. "Look who's talking," she said. "Aren't you the one who got dumped for being too nosy? No wonder you're single." Amelia's jaw tightened, but she didn't falter. "I wasn't dumped," she replied coolly. "I left him. I don't want to cheat for a cis boyfriend, and I certainly don't tolerate liars. It's called self-respect. You should try it sometime." Her words stung, and the group of women muttered grudgingly among themselves. One by one, they walked away, clearly irritated but unwilling to continue the confrontation. Amelia turned to Grandma Mary, her expression softening. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. Grandma Mary nodded, giving Amelia a small smile. "Thank you, dear. I appreciate it. It's nothing," Amelia said with a shrug. "Just let me know if anyone bothers you." And as Amelia walked away, Grandma Mary's eyes followed her. A small knowing smile played on her lips. "She got a good heart." Grandma Mary murmured to herself, "This one's special." The office had quieted down after the earlier commotion, and Grandma Mary decided it was the perfect time to approach Amelia. She found her sitting at her desk, focused on a stack of papers. Clearing her throat softly, Grandma Mary spoke up. "Excuse me, dear. Can I have a moment of your time?" Amelia looked up and smiled warmly, recognizing the older woman she had helped earlier. "Of course. Ma'am, how can I help you?" Grandma Mary sat down across from Amelia, her sharp eyes glinting with curiosity. "I couldn't help but overhear your colleagues earlier," she began. "It seems you're single. Would you mind marrying my grandson?" Amelia blinked, surprised by the unexpected question. She laughed politely, not sure if Grandma Mary was serious. "That's very kind of you to suggest, but I'm not looking for love. Right now, I've had my fair share of heartbreak, and I think I'm better off focusing on my career." Grandma Mary tilted over her head. "Heartbreak? You're much too young to have gone through so much pain." Amelia hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "A lot of men have let me down. My most recent boyfriend, who was also a colleague here, cheated on me, and not just anywhere, he did it right here in the office. I caught him red-handed. It was humiliating." Grandma Mary's eyes narrowed, her voice firm. You're right to be cautious, but I can assure you my grandson is nothing like that. He lost both his parents in a car accident when he was very young. I raised him myself, and he's grown up to be a fine young man, with a kind heart he would never betray. Someone like that? Amelia gave Grandma Mary a soft smile, not wanting to offend her. That's very sweet of you to say. I'll think about it, she said jokingly, trying to brush off the seriousness of the conversation. Just then, the door to the office opened and a young man walked in. Amelia's attention was immediately drawn. To him, he had strikingly handsome features, sharp cheekbones, kind eyes, and a confident yet humble demeanor. He was dressed in simple clothes, yet he carried himself with an air of quiet elegance. Grandma. The young man said, his voice warm and familiar as he approached Grandma Mary, smiled fondly. Tommy, there you are, come. Here, dear. Amelia froze for a moment. Grandma, was this the grandson she had just been asked to consider? This is Tommy, Grandma Mary said, introducing him. With pride, he's a new intern here at the firm. Tommy smiled at Amelia, extending his hand. I'm Tommy, it's nice to meet you. Amelia shook his hand, her cheeks tinged with a slight blush. I'm Amelia, welcome to the firm. Tommy's smile widened. Thank you. I've heard this is a great place to learn, so I'm excited to get started. Grandma Mary watched the interaction with a satisfied smile, her mind already warring with plans. As Amelia returned to her work, she couldn't help but steal glances at Tommy, wondering how such a seemingly humble and polite young man could possibly be related to the woman who had just offered her an unusual proposal. Tommy's first day as an intern was off to a simple start. Under his disguise, he blended in seamlessly with the other employees, his laid-back demeanor making him approachable to everyone except a few who looked down on his supposed low rank. Through Grandma Mary's subtle intervention, Tommy was assigned to work closely with Amelia. A case. The project involved drafting legal arguments for a high-profile client. Amelia, being one of the firm's brightest lawyers, was put in charge, while Tommy's role as an intern was to assist her as the two began working together. Amelia was pleasantly surprised by Tommy's intelligence and quick grasp of legal principles. His insights were sharp and to the point, making her wonder if he really was just an intern. You're surprisingly good at this, Amelia said, giving him an approving look. Tommy chuckled. I guess I've read a lot of legal books in my spare time. I like learning from people who are passionate about what they do. Like you. Amelia blushed lightly but smiled. Thanks, that means a lot. Meanwhile, Grandma Mary kept a watchful eye from a distance. She had positioned herself where she could occasionally overhear their conversations while pretending to clean. Every time Amelia smiled or laughed at something Tommy said, Grandma Mary's heart swelled with pride. They're starting to get along, she muttered to herself, giving a sly smile as she pushed her cleaning cart away. Later that day, Amelia's phone buzzed as she wrapped up some paperwork. It was a call from her mother. She hesitated, but answered with a cheerful tone. Hi, Mom. Amelia greeted, trying to sound casual. Amelia, when are you bringing your boyfriend home? You promised to introduce me to your future husband soon, her mother said. Enthusiastically, Amelia's stomach churned. She had no boyfriend to introduce, and the pressure was mounting, not wanting to disappoint her mother. She replied nervously, soon, Mum. You'll meet him soon, I promise. Her mother sighed with delight. Good, you're not getting any younger, sweetheart. I just want to see you happy. Of course, Mum, Amelia replied, forcing a laugh. I have to get back to work now. Okay, dear. Amelia hung up and exhaled deeply. What am I going to do? She thought. The last thing she wanted was to lie to her mother, but the idea of explaining her single status felt unbearable. While Amelia was lost in her thoughts, the rest of the office was a buzz with excitement, and news had spread that Tom Johnson, the elusive and brilliant heir to the Johnson family fortune, would soon be arriving to officially take over their firm. Do you think he'll let us join his team? One lawyer asked. Another, of course not. Lucy, a sassy and ambitious employee, scoffed. He's only going to pick the best of the best, and let me be honest, most of you don't stand a chance. Lucy's confidence came from her own ambitions to work directly under Tom Johnson. She knew his reputation as a all-record-breaking lawyer who had never lost a case and was on track to become the youngest senior advocate SN in the country. She was determined to impress him at any cost. Spotting Amelia walking back to her desk, Lucy smirked. "Well, if it isn't the queen of mediocrity," she said loudly enough for the others to hear. "Don't even think about trying to join Mr. Johnson's team. Would never pick someone like you, a low-class lawyer from a no-name university." Amelia stopped in her tracks, her heart sinking. "That's enough, Lucy," she said quietly. "Oh, am I wrong?" Lucy continued mockingly. "Everyone here knows you're not in his league. Why don't you just stick to minor cases and leave the big leagues to those of us who are actually qualified?" Before Amelia could respond, Tommy stood up from his desk. "That's enough," he said firmly, stepping between Lucy and Amelia. Lucy raised an eyebrow, sizing him up. "And who do you think you are, intern? Do you even have the right to speak to me like that?" "I might be just an intern, but I know that respect and kindness go a long way," Tommy replied calmly. "Amelia is a fantastic lawyer who works harder than anyone here. If Mr. Johnson values talent, I'm sure he'd recognize that in her before anyone else." Lucy laughed bitterly. "You're defending her, that's cute, but you're as low on the totem pole as she is. Don't get in my way." Intern Tommy didn't back down. "Maybe I'm low on the totem pole, but I know the kind of people who succeed are those who lift others up, not tear them down." Lucy rolled her eyes and walked away, muttering under her breath. Amelia, who had been watching the exchange, was deeply touched by Tommy's defense. She looked at him with new admiration. "Thank you," she said softly. Tommy shrugged his warm smile, returning, "I just don't like seeing good people treated unfairly." Amelia couldn't help but smile back. Her heart fluttered slightly, and for the first time in a long while she found herself wondering if someone could truly be different from the men who had hurt her before. He is not rich, but he is kind. Over the next few weeks, Tommy and Amelia grew closer. They worked seamlessly together on cases, often staying late in the office. Their shared laughter and easy conversation soon blossomed into something more. Tommy, in his humble and charming way, asked Amelia out on a proper date, and she hesitated only for a serious moment before agreeing. As their relationship deepened, Lucy grew increasingly bitter. Her jealousy festered, and she began plotting ways to sabotage Amelia. Lucy's chance came when she overheard Amelia talking to Tommy about their budding romance. Determined to ruin it, Lucy devised a plan. One day, Lucy orchestrated a situation to embarrass Amelia and Tommy. She tampered with documents that Amelia and Tommy were supposed to present to a client, hoping the mistake would paint them as incompetent. However, her plan backfired when Tommy quickly noticed the error and corrected it just in time. Lucy's frustration boiled over, but she refused to give up. "You're lucky this time," she sneered at Amelia, "but don't think I won't catch you slipping up again." Tommy's patience had worn thin, couldn't bear to see Amelia endure constant bullying. He decided it was time to reveal the truth about who he was. Standing in the middle of the office, Tommy addressed the room. "Everyone listen up," he began. His voice was steady but firm. "I'm not just an intern. My real name is Tom Johnson, and I've been working here undercover to understand how things run at this firm." The room fell silent. Then laughter erupted, led by Lucy. "You Tom Johnson," Lucy said between chuckles. "That's the funniest thing I've heard all year. Do you think we're stupid enough to believe that?" Even Amelia looked stunned. She pulled Tommy aside and whispered urgently, "Tommy, are you trying to get yourself into serious trouble you could be sued for impersonating Mr. Johnson? Please stop before this gets worse." Tommy looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of frustration and hurt. "Amelia, I'm telling the truth. I am Tom Johnson." Amelia shook her head. "If the real Mr. Johnson finds out, he could ruin your life. Please, Tommy, drop this before it's too late." The situation worsened when Amelia's ex-boyfriend, Mark, who still worked at the firm, decided to chime in. He had overheard the commotion and couldn't resist mocking Amelia. "Wow, Amelia, you really know how to pick them." Mark said, smirking a poor intern pretending to be Tom Johnson. That's a new low, even for you Tommies. Jaw clenched, but he remained calm. Mark, you can insult me all you want, but leave Amelia out of this. Oh, look at you, Mark retorted, trying to play the hero. You're just a nobody, a fake lawyer, a fake Johnson. What? Next, Tommy straightened his posture, his eyes cold. Mark, you've crossed the line. Not only have you insulted me, but you've also been spring lies about Amelia. That's defamation. And you could be sued for it. Mark scoffed. Sue me with what? Money you can barely afford. Lunch, get real. Before Mark could continue, the HR manager arrived with security guards. Mark, you've been terminated. Effective immediately, she announced. What? Mark's smug expression vanished. You've been warned multiple times about your behavior, and this is the final straw. The HR manager said, please gather your pool, things, and leave. Mark turned to Tommy and Amelia, his face red with fury. This isn't over, he spat before being escorted out of the building. Amelia, shaken by the events, pulled Tommy aside again. Tommy, this is getting out of hand. What if Mark tells the real Mr. Johnson that you're pretending to be him? You could lose everything. Tommy sighed, his frustration evident. Amelia, I promise you I'm not pretending I am Tom Johnson. Amelia bit her lip, torn between disbelief and worry. I don't know how to help you, but when Mr. Johnson finally gets here, I'll talk to him. I'll explain everything and try to stop him from suing you. Tommy nodded, appreciating her concern and understanding why she didn't believe him. That evening, Tommy made a call to his trusted secretary, James. James, I need you to come to the firm tomorrow and pretend to be me. Act like the real Tom Johnson. I need to see how everyone reacts when they think they're meeting the CEO. James chuckled on the other end of the line. This is an unusual request, sir, but I'll do it. I'll be there first thing in the morning. Tommy hung up the phone, determined to resolve the chaos and finally reveal his true identity once and for all. The office was abuzz the next morning as word spread that Tom Johnson, the elusive CEO and legal prodigy, would finally be making his grand appearance. Everyone dressed their best, determined to impress him. At exactly 9:00 a.m., James walked into the building, exuding confidence. Dressed in a sharp suit and carrying an air of authority, he introduced himself as Tom Johnson. The staff was immediately in awe, and Lucy in particular went out of her way to fay over him. Mr. Johnson, Lucy gushed, flashing her brightest smile. It's such an honor to meet you. I've admired your work for years. James played along, nodding politely. Thank you. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Tommy, meanwhile, observed everything from a corner of the office, pretending to be busy with some files. He smirked as he watched Lucy's sycophantic behavior and the nervous energy of the staff. Amelia, however, stayed focused on her work, her usual grace and professionalism standing out. Tommy couldn't help but admire her. Meanwhile, Grandma Mary, still ending to be a humble cleaner, watched the unfolding drama with amusement, but her focus wasn't on James or Lucy. It was on Amelia. She had already made up her mind that Amelia was perfect for Tommy. She decided it was time to intervene. Later that afternoon, Grandma Mary approached Amelia, looking pale and frail. She clutched her chest dramatically and let out a shaky sigh. Are you okay? Amelia asked, rushing to her side. I'm fine, dear, Grandma Mary replied weakly. It's just my heart's not what it used to be. I don't think I have much time left. Amelia's eyes widened in concern. Don't say that. Have you seen a doctor? Grandma Mary shook her head. What I need can't be fixed by a doctor. My only wish before I leave this world is to see my grandson married to a good woman. Someone kind and strong, someone like you. Amelia's heart skipped a beat. Me, but Grandma Mary gently squeezed her hand. No, it's sudden, but Tommy cares for you deeply, and I can see you care for him too. You two would make each other so happy. Please think about it. That evening, Amelia sat in her apartment, mulling over Grandma Mary's words. She couldn't deny that she had feelings for Tommy. He was kind, supportive, and had stood by her during her toughest moments, even though he wasn't wealthy. He made her feel valued in a way no one else ever had. Her phone buzzed, and she saw a text from her mum. "When are you bringing your fiancé home? I can't wait to meet him." Amelia sighed. Her mother's constant pressure to settle down added to her growing uncertainty. Marrying Tommy would solve everything. She loved him and he loved her. Why not take a leap of faith? Tommy, unaware of Grandma Mary's scheme, was also thinking about Amelia. He had fallen for her completely, but worried about revealing his true identity. Would she feel betrayed? Would she see him differently? His thoughts were interrupted by a text from Grandma Mary. "Come see me, it's urgent." When Tommy arrived at Grandma Mary's apartment, she was lying on the couch looking unusually pale. "Grandma, what's going on?" Tommy asked, panic in his voice. Grandma Mary sighed dramatically. "Tommy, I'm not well. I've been thinking you and Amelia should get married. She's perfect for you, and I know you feel the same way about her." Tommy blinked. "Married Grandma? That's she already agreed," Grandma Mary interjected. With a sly smile, she said she'd think about it, "but I know she'll say yes." "Don't waste time, Tommy. Life is too short." The next day, Grandma Mary orchestrated a meeting between Tommy and Amelia. She pretended to be even sicker, her frail condition convincing them both that this was urgent. As they sat beside her, Grandma Mary gave them a weak smile. "You two mean so much to me," she said softly. "I know it's sudden, but I want to see you both happy before it's too late. Will you consider getting married?" Tommy and Amelia exchanged a glance. They both felt a rush of emotion, love for each other, and concern for Grandma Mary. Finally, Amelia spoke. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady. "I've been thinking. My mum's been pressuring me to settle down, and honestly, Tommy, I've fallen for you. I don't care about money or status. You're kind and thoughtful, and that's all that matters to me." Tommy's heart swelled with emotion. "Amelia, I feel the same way. I'll do whatever it takes to make you happy." Grandma Mary beamed triumphantly, her frail step momentarily forgotten. "That's wonderful news. Let's plan a small ceremony right away." Amelia and Tom both looked up, surprised by Grandma's sudden gain of energy. The day of the wedding was simple but heartfelt. Amelia and Tom exchanged vows in a small ceremony at the local registry office. Amelia wore a modest white dress, her natural beauty shining brighter than any diamond. Tom, in a crisp suit, looked at her with a mixture of love and nervousness. Despite his joy, he couldn't shake the weight of his secret. The thought of Amelia discovering his true identity as the real Tom Johnson, and the fact that he had deceived her into marriage, kept going at him. Grandma Mary, dressed in a cheerful floral outfit, watched the couple with satisfaction. To her, the plan was a success. She could see the love in Amelia's eyes and the quiet devotion in Tom's. After the ceremony, as they sat together at a small celebratory dinner, Tom leaned close to his grandmother and whispered his worries. "Grandma," he said quietly, "what if Amelia finds out the truth? What if she feels betrayed and decides to leave me? I've lied to her and now we're married. It's wrong, Grandma." Mary patted his hand reassuringly. "Tommy, you didn't deceive her out of malice. You love her, and it's clear she loves you too. When the time comes, she'll understand. Good intentions matter. Dear, don't lose heart." Tom nodded, but the anxiety lingered in his chest. Wanted to believe his grandmother's words, but he couldn't ignore the possibility that Amelia might feel hurt and betrayed when the truth came to light. After the wedding, life at the office became increasingly tense for Amelia. Though her professional reputation had grown, jealousy festered among her colleagues. Lucy, who had always been competitive and envious, decided to take drastic action. One afternoon during a team meeting, Lucy stood up with a smug expression. "I have something important to report," she announced, holding up a folder. "Amelia has been leaking confidential documents to our competitors." Gasps filled the room. Amelia froze in shock. "What? That's not true," she exclaimed. Lucy smirked. "Oh, really? Because I have evidence right here," she said, holding up what appeared to be incriminating emails with Amelia's name on them. The room buzzed with whispers as Lucy reveled in the attention. We can't have someone like her. In this firm, Mr. Johnson should know. About this, immediately Lucy added, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Amelia's heart raced. She knew the accusations were false, but the so-called evidence was damning, she felt. Her throat tightened as the weight of the situation sank in. Tommy, sitting quietly, in his disguise as an intern, clenched, his fists under the table. He wanted to stand up and defend Amelia, but his position as a supposed intern limited what he could do without raising suspicion. Instead, he approached Amelia. Privately after the meeting, I believe. You, he told her softly, his eyes earnest. Whatever's happening, we'll figure it out. Amelia gave him a small, grateful smile, but her shoulders sagged. Thanks, Tommy. But this is serious. If Lucy's lies stick, my career could be over. Tommy reached out and squeezed her hand. You're not alone in this. I promise I'll do everything I can to help. Word of the accusation quickly reached Grandma Mary, who immediately sprang into action. Her influence behind the scenes was far-reaching. She discreetly called in favors, arranging for Amelia to have access to legal resources and support to fight the false claims. At the same time, Grandma Mary kept a close eye on Lucy. Through her network, she began gathering information that might expose Lucy's schemes. Meanwhile, James, still pretending to be Tom Johnson, was called into a meeting about the accusations against Amelia. Lucy, confident that she had the ear of the CEO, presented her fabricated evidence to James. She expected him to side with her, but James, following instructions from the real Tom, remained non-committal. This is a serious matter, James said, flipping through the folder. With a neutral expression, we'll conduct a thorough investigation before making any decisions. Lucy's smile faltered. But the evidence is clear, Mr. Johnson. James looked up sharply. We will investigate. No further discussion. A week after their simple wedding, Amelia's life had become a whirlwind of challenges and emotions. The false accusations from Lucy hung over her, and though Grandma Mary and Tommy were supportive, she still felt the weight of the situation. One evening, while staying late at the office to work on her defense, Amelia decided to grab a coffee from the break room. As she passed a nearby conference room, she heard voices and paused. The door was slightly ajar, and she recognized the familiar voice of her husband. Tommy. James, I need to stop this charade. Soon, Tommy was saying, Amelia doesn't deserve to be in the dark anymore. I tried to tell her, but she didn't believe me. Now that we're married, I can't keep lying to her. Sir James replied, I understand your concern, but revealing your identity might make things complicated, especially with Lucy's accusations hanging over Amelia. Amelia's heart skipped a beat. She leaned closer to hear more, her mind racing. Sir, why is Mr. Johnson calling? Tommy, sir, I don't care about complications, Tommy said firmly. Amelia deserves the truth. I'm Tom Johnson, CEO of this firm, and my disguise as an intern was only meant to observe how things were run here. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. Tommy is Tom Johnson. She stumbled back from the door, her mind reeling. The pieces fell into place, his insights into their cases, his confidence. Even Grandma Mary's strange insistence that they get married, it all made sense. Now later that evening, Amelia waited for Tommy at their apartment. When he walked in, he could tell immediately that something was wrong. Amelia, what's going on? He asked, setting his briefcase down. I overheard you talking to James, she said, crossing her arms. You're Tom Johnson, the CEO of the firm, the billionaire Tom Johnson. Tommy froze for a moment, considered denying it, but he knew it was futile. He sighed deeply. Amelia, I can so explain. You lied to me, she said, her voice trembling. You pretended to be an intern and then you married me without telling me who you were. I didn't mean to hurt you, Tommy said, stepping closer. I tried to tell you the truth before, but you didn't believe me. I didn't want to lose you, and I didn't want you to feel like I was trying to deceive you. Amelia looked at him, her emotions wearing between anger and understanding. Why didn't you tell me before the wedding? I wanted to, but I was afraid. Tommy admitted, afraid that you'd feel betrayed or that you'd think I only married you because of Grandma's schemes. I love you, Amelia. That's the only reason I married you, and I still owe you a grand wedding if you will have me. Amelia's anger softened at his words. She could see the sincerity in his eyes. After a long pause, she said, "I need time to process this, Tommy, but I won't leave. I love you too." Relief washed over him, and he nodded. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right." The next morning, Tommy made a decision. He officially ended his disguise as an intern and resumed his role as the CEO of the firm Grandma Mary. Two decided it was time she stopped when he didn't show up as the intern. Rumors spread like wildfire. Lucy, of course, was the loudest voice. "Looks like that nosy little intern crossed the wrong people," she said with a smirk. "I heard he got fired. Serves him right for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong." Her comment drew laughter from others in the office, and they turned their attention to Amelia. "You're probably next," Lucy said, her tone dripping with mock sympathy. Guess being attached to that guy wasn't the smartest move. Amelia remained calm, her expression neutral. She didn't correct them or reveal the truth. She simply smiled politely and went back to her work, ignoring their taunts. She knew they would all find out soon enough, and when they did, their reactions would be priceless. Tom Johnson had officially returned to his position as CEO, commanding respect and awe from everyone in the first firm. However, he no longer interacted with the employees on a personal level, maintaining a professional distance. Only Amelia knew that the intimidating CEO was the same man who had once been the humble intern. Tommy, she kept his secret, even as whispers and gossip continued to swirl in the big office, especially in Amelia's department. One afternoon, a buzz of excitement swept through the firm. The employees whispered to one another about a rumor that Mr. Johnson had taken a private flight to Paris to purchase a necklace worth millions. The piece, famously called the Heart of the Ocean, was said to be an extravagant symbol of love. He must have bought it for his wife, one lawyer speculated. But who is she? Another asked. No one's seen or heard anything about Mr. Johnson being married. Lucy, who was always eager to fuel drama, leaned in conspiratorially. "I heard it's for his first love," she said. "A woman named Ella. She's stunning and comes from a very wealthy family. Apparently she's the Mrs. Johnson." The gossip intensified when, later that day, a glamorous woman walked into the office. Layla, dressed in a designer outfit and wearing a dazzling diamond necklace, commanded attention. Wherever she went, she introduced herself, confidently claiming to be Tom Johnson's wife. The employees immediately began fawning over her, eager to gain her favor. "She's gorgeous," Lucy whispered loudly, casting a smug glance at Amelia. "I can see why Mr. Johnson would choose someone like her. Some people should know their place." Amelia kept her head down, refusing to engage. Her heart raced as doubts crept in. She knew Tom loved her, but the way everyone treated Ella and the stunning necklace she wore made her question if she could truly compete with someone from Tom's past. Ella didn't waste any time seeking out Elia. She approached her with a sweet but condescending smile. "So you're Amelia," like said, looking her up and down. "I've heard so much about you." Amelia stood tall, her voice calm. "Nice to meet you." Ella tilted her head. "Must be hard working here, surrounded by so much pressure. I hope you don't take it personally if things don't go your way. After all, not everyone is cut out for this environment." Amelia knew what LLA was implying, but refused to let it show. "I appreciate your concern," she replied evenly, "but I think I can handle myself just fine." Layla's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "Well, best of luck, dear," she said before walking away, her necklace catching the light and drawing admiring glances from everyone around her. That evening, Tom picked up Amelia after work. As they sat in his car, heading to dinner with Grandma Mary, Tom noticed her uncharacteristic silence. "What on your mind?" he asked, glancing at her. Amelia hesitated before speaking. "I heard about the necklace," she admitted, "and Ella. She showed up at the office today." Tom frowned. "What did she say to you?" "She didn't say much," Amelia replied, "but the way she acted, the way everyone treated her, it made me wonder if she stopped, unsure how to continue." "If what?" Tom prompted gently. "If you regret being with me," Amelia said quietly, her voice barely audible. Tom pulled the car over and turned to face Her Amelia, look at me, she did, her eyes filled with uncertainty. Tom reached into the glove compartment and pulled out a palgoa, sleek velvet box. He opened it, revealing the real heart of the ocean necklace, glittering with unmatched brilliance. This is for you, he said, fastening the necklace around her neck. Flew to Paris to buy this because you're the only woman I've ever wanted to give it to. Do not Ella, not anyone else. You. Amelia's breath hitched as she touched the necklace, overwhelmed by its beauty and the meaning behind it. Tomila doesn't mean anything to me, Tom, continued. She's part of the past, and I've moved on. You're my wife, Amelia. I love you, and no one else could ever take your place. Tears filled Amelia's eyes as she smiled. The doubts that had been eating away at her disappeared in an instant. Thank you, she said softly. I love you too. Tom kissed her forehead and started the car again. Now let's not keep Grandma waiting. She'll be thrilled to see you wearing that necklace. The atmosphere at the office was tense as Amelia continued working on her defense against the document leaking accusations. Lucy had been relentless in her claims, and many employees were starting to whisper that Amelia's career was over. But Amelia wasn't one to give up easily. With the help of Grandma Mary's resources and Tom's secret support, Amelia worked tirelessly to gather evidence. After days of combing through email, surveillance footage, and system logs, she finally found what she was looking for: proof that Lucy had fabricated the emails and planted false evidence to frame her. Amelia presented the findings at an internal investigation meeting. Here's the email metadata, she said confidently, passing out copies to the panel. It shows the supposed leak came from Lucy's account, not mine. Additionally, this surveillance footage confirms she accessed the files in question. After hours, the room erupted into murmurs as the evidence was reviewed. Lucy, seated across the table, turned pale. This is ridiculous, Lucy exclaimed, trying to maintain her composure. You must have faked this, one of the senior partners cut her off. Enough, Lucy, the evidence is clear. You've not only framed Amelia, but also violated the company's confidential IT policies. This firm has no place for someone like you. Lucy's face twisted in anger and desperation. You don't understand. She doesn't belong here. She's nothing compared to me. At that moment, the door opened and Lila walked in her presence, commanding attention. Don't even try to blame me, Lucy, she said, her voice icy. But don't worry, I'll admit to my part. The room went silent as Lila confessed to secreting with Lucy, providing access to fake documents and coaching her on how to sabotage Amelia. Lila's motivation was simple: jealousy. She had wanted to undermine Amelia and rekindle her relationship with Tom, who had been quietly observing, finally stepped forward. You both should be ashamed of yourselves, he said coldly. Your actions have harmed an innocent woman and tarnished this firm's reputation. Lucy and LLA were escorted out of the room as murmurs of disbelief filled the air. Tom stood at the head of the room, his expression firm but calm. Before we move forward, there's something I need to say, Tom began, his voice carrying authority. Many of you have wondered about my time here as an intern. I wasn't here to learn, I was here to observe. The employees exchanged confused glances, unsure of what he meant. Tom straightened his posture. I am Tom Johnson, CEO of this firm. Gasps filled the room as everyone stared at him in shock. Lucy's mocking remarks, the assumptions about his firing, everything they had believed about the quiet intern was turned upside down. There's one more thing, Tom continued, his gaze softening as it fell on Amelia. Amelia isn't just an employee here, she's my wife. We married recently, and I'm proud to call her my life partner. Amelia's heart swelled as she looked at Tom. He had finally revealed the truth, and he had done so while standing up for her publicly. The room fell into stunned silence. Then, one by one, the employees began speaking up, their voices filled with guilt. Mrs. Johnson, we didn't know. One said, we so sorry for the way we treated you. Another added, we didn't mean to hurt you. Please forgive us. Lucy's former allies chimed in. Amelia held her head high. It's not about me forgiving you, she said firmly. It's about understanding that bullying is unacceptable no matter who it's directed at. Rich or poor, powerful or powerless. Workplace harassment is not just unethical, it's illegal, and I hope you've learned that lesson. Today, Tom nodded in agreement, addressing the room. Amelia's right, this firm will not tolerate such behavior moving forward. Learn from this experience or you'll find yourselves looking for work elsewhere. The employees nodded solemnly, clearly shaken by the turn of events. As the meeting ended, Tom took Amelia's hand and walked her out of the room. Their heads held high. Though the road had been rocky, they had emerged stronger, with their love and integrity intact. Thank you, Amelia said softly as they stepped into his office. For what? Tom asked, wrapping an arm around her. For standing by me, she replied, smiling. Tom leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. I'll always stand by you, Amelia. You're my heart and my future, Amelia. And Tom quickly became the talk of the firm, known now as the power couple. Their dynamic was a blend of professionalism and affection that left many in awe. Amelia's grace and determination, coupled with Tom's sharp leadership, made them an unbeatable team. Their love story had become a quiet inspiration, and even the employees who had once mocked Amelia now treated her with respect and admiration. One quiet evening after work, Amelia and Tom sat on the balcony of their luxurious home, enjoying a warm cup of tea. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the air was filled with the comfortable silence of two people deeply connected. Amelia, Tom began breaking the silence. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. It's about why I became a lawyer. Amelia raised an eyebrow in curiosity. Why? Tom set his cup down and looked at her, his expression soft and nostalgic. Because of you, me? Amelia asked. Surprised, Tom nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. You probably don't remember, but when we were teenagers we met once. You saved me. Amelia's brow furrowed and she leaned closer. Tell me. The memory was vivid in Tom's mind. As a shy teenager, he had once been cornered by a group of bullies in the schoolyard. They taunted him for his quiet demeanor and wealth, pushing him around as he tried to defend himself. Think you're better than us, rich boy? One of the bullies sneered just as Tom braced himself for another shove. A voice rang out. Leave him alone. The bullies turned to see a fiery-eyed girl storming toward them. It was Amelia. She stood between Tom and his tormentors, her hands on her hips, looking as fierce as a lioness. Who do you think you are one of? The bullies. Jared, I'm someone who's going to become a lawyer, Amelia declared, her voice steady. And when I do, I'll sue every one of you for harassment and bullying. The bullies laughed nervously, but something about Amelia's determination made them think twice as she picked up her phone, dialing a number, muttering insults under their breath. They eventually left. Amelia turned to Tom, who was still stunned. Are you okay? She asked, her tone softer now. Tom nodded, staring at her in a thank you. Don't thank me, Amelia said, brushing off her skirt. Just make sure you stand up for yourself next time. As the memory faded, Tom looked at Amelia. You probably forgot about that day, but I never did. Watching you stand up for me with so much courage, it changed something in me. I wanted to be like you, to fight for what's right, to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. Amelia blinked, her eyes wide. Tom, I had no idea. Tom smiled. When I walked into the firm and saw you again, I recognized you. Immediately I knew I couldn't let you slip away this time. Even without Grandma's interference, I would have done everything in my power to make you mine. Amelia's cheeks flushed and she smiled shyly. You've been holding on to this all this time. Every word Tom said, pulling her closer. You've been my inspiration from the beginning. Amelia, she smiled, her heart swelling with love. I can't believe this. Tom leaned in, his voice low and full of affection. Believe it, Mrs. Johnson. They shared a passionate hug, their connection deepened by the revelation of their shared past. For Amelia, the idea that she had unknowingly influenced Tom's life so profoundly filled her with warmth and pride. The next day, Grandma Mary invited them over for dinner. As they sat around the table, she couldn't help but eye them mischievously. You two make a lovely couple, she said, smiling warmly, but you know what would make this even better? Amelia tilted her head. What grandma? Great-grandchildren. Grandma Mary exclaimed with a laugh. I'm not getting any younger, you know, a little one. Running around would be the perfect addition to this family. Amelia's face turned bright red and she sputtered it. Grandma Tom, on the other hand, chuckled, clearly amused. Don't rush her, Grandma. We're taking one step at a time. Grandma Mary waved him off. Playfully, nonsense, you're married now. What are you waiting for? Amelia covered her face with her hands while Tom reached out to squeeze her shoulder, his laughter infectious. We'll keep that in. Mind, Grandma, he said teasingly. As the evening went on, the conversation shifted, but Grandma Mary's playful hints stayed. In Amelia's mind, she caught Tom grinning at her a few times, his eyes sparkling with amusement as they left Grandma Mary's house that evening. Amelia slipped her hand into Tom's. She's not going to let up, is she? Not a chance, Tom replied with a grin, but don't worry, we'll figure it out in our own time. Amelia smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder as they walked, with their love strengthened by honesty and their past. Amelia felt ready to face whatever the future held, whether it was handling the challenges of the firm or Grandma Mary's well-meaning meddling. Ella sat in her car outside Tom and Amelia's mansion, her jaw clenched in determination. She couldn't believe she had been cast aside so easily. Watching Tom shower Amelia with love and attention had driven her to the edge. She wasn't going to lose the handsome billionaire to some poor girl as she saw it. She had a plan and she was ready to execute it that afternoon. While Amelia was out running errands, Leia managed to sneak into the mansion. She was careful to avoid the household staff, moving stealthily toward the kitchen. There she found a bottle of wine chilling in the refrigerator. Smirking to herself, she pulled a small vial from her purse and poured its contents into the wine. This will remind him of what we had, she murmured to herself. She poured a glass, placing it on the coffee table in the living room where she knew Tom would sit after work. Confident in her plan, Ella hid in the room and watched as Tom drank the wine. Unknown to Ella, Grandma Mary had decided to drop by the mansion unannounced. As she stepped through the front door, she immediately sensed something was off. Spotting Ella lounging casually in the living room, Grandma Mary's sharp eyes narrowed. What are you doing here, Ella? She demanded, her voice firm. Lila's confidence faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. Oh, Grandma Mary, I just came to visit Tom. I thought we could catch up. Grandma Mary's gaze shifted to the wine glass on the table. Years of experience told her something wasn't right. Tom didn't invite you, and he certainly doesn't need catching up with you before Ella could respond. Grandma Mary picked up the glass and sniffed it. Her face darkened. What have you done? Grandma Mary demanded, her voice icy. Did you spike this? Ella stammered. I didn't enough. Grandma Mary snapped, cut in her off. She turned to the nearest security guard. Get this woman out of here immediately and make sure she never sets foot in this house again. The guards quickly escorted a furious and defeated Leigh out of the mansion. Grandma Mary sighed, her anger giving way to concern. She immediately called Amelia. Amelia arrived at the mansion shortly after, alarmed by Grandma Mary's call. Grandma, what happened? She asked, rushing inside. Grandma Mary recounted everything, from Ela sneaking into the house and drugging Tom. Amelia's face paled with anger and disbelief. She won't get away with this, Amelia said firmly. Grandma Mary gave her a sly smile. I've already handled her, but there's something else. You need to handle. What do you mean? Amelia asked, confused. Grandma Mary led Amelia to the bedroom where Tom was already hysteric, still processing what had happened. You two need some time to yourselves, Grandma Mary said, pushing Amelia gently into the room before either of them could protest. Grandma Mary closed the door and locked it. Amelia blinked. Grandma, what are you doing? Sorting out your priorities, Grandma Mary called from the other side. You'll thank me later, Tom chuckled, standing up and walking over to Amelia. Looks like we're stuck. Amelia sighed, but couldn't help smiling. I can't believe Leia would stoop so low. Tom took her hands in his expression serious. She doesn't matter, Amelia. You're the only woman I care about. You're my wife, and nothing will ever change that. Amelia looked into his eyes and saw nothing but sincerity, she felt a wave of relief and leaned into him. "I love you, Tom," she said. Softly, "I love you too," he replied, pulling her closer to him. 2 weeks later, the Johnson family gathered for a quiet dinner at Grandma Mary's house. The atmosphere was light and joyful, with laughter filling the room as the main course was served. Amelia suddenly excused herself, rushing to the restroom. She returned moments later, looking pale. Tom immediately noticed Amelia. "Are you okay? I think I might have eaten something bad," she said weakly. "Grandma?" Mary's eyes lit up with suspicion but didn't say anything. Tom stood up, concern etched across his face. "That's it. We're going to the hospital," Amelia protested weakly. "But Tom insisted I'm not taking any chances," he said firmly. As they left, Grandma Mary sat back in her chair with a knowing smile. "Well, well," she said to herself. "Looks like I'll be getting my great-grandchild sooner than I thought." Later that evening, the doctor confirmed what Grandma Mary had suspected. Amelia was pregnant. Tom's joy was immeasurable, and Amelia's heart swelled with happiness when they shared the news with Grandma Mary. She nearly danced with delight. Their journey had been filled with challenges and surprises. But as they looked ahead to this new chapter, Tom and Amelia knew they were stronger together. Their love, forged through trials and honesty, had only just begun to bloom.